Hi, this is Linda West from lindawest.com, and I had a lot of searches on my website with questions about how to set up a bridge. So I think a lot of people are buying cellos that are being shipped to them with their bridge down. Linda at lindawest.com is my email if you have any questions about this or any supplemental help you might need. I want to let you know that if you buy a cello from my website, I just want to make it clear that I send all my cellos out set up, ready to play in the case. You pull them out, you just tune them a little bit, and they're good to go. So this is not for my customers. This is for customers of eBay or possibly other vendors who send them with a bridge down. Okay, so I'm just trying to help you guys out. It oftentimes comes set like this with the tailpiece in place. The bridge is tucked underneath the tailpiece, and the pegs are tightened. So you want to loosen up the pegs so you can loosen up the strings. Remove your bridge. It's usually tucked underneath the tailpiece. Not always, but often it is. Remove your bridge. And then you should have enough slack in your strings that you can stand your bridge up underneath. One of the things you should check, though, if it just shipped from somewhere, that the sound post is standing up. So let's take a look inside the F-hole to see if the sound post is standing up. So here you can see the sound post in place. It's not directly under the bridge foot. It's a little bit off towards the end pin and a little towards the outside edge. If it's way down here, it's a problem. You should go to a luthier and get it reset. But if it's right here near the foot, not under the foot, but near the foot, then you're okay. Make sure it's looking fairly straight up and down. Okay, now the other thing we need to do is which way does the bridge go? Obviously the feet go down, but does it go this way or does it go this way? And that's what we need to describe. Usually there's a flat side to the bridge and a more kind of curved side to the bridge. You'll also notice it's not necessarily symmetrical. This is a Belgium style bridge. This is one style, and there's another style that's a little squattier. That's a French style. This one has a really high leg, so it's really short on the top. But the A string, which is the skinniest string, is the highest string, is lower than the C string, which is the fattest string. That's because the fatter string needs a lot of vibrational range, so it needs to be higher off of the fingerboard, so it's usually this shape for that reason. The A string will be closer to the fingerboard than the C string. So we'll put the curved side up towards the peg box, the flat side down towards the tailpiece. I'm going to go ahead and slide this in here. Again, make sure your strings are loose enough. I'm going to loosen the A string a little bit more. I'm going to place the feet. So the center of the feet, you may not have marks on your cello like this one has. It may just be completely brand new varnish and never had a bridge set. So you see these notches on the F-hole here? The center, more or less, the center of the bridge will line up with across these notches, and it will be centered in the cello's belly. So I'm getting the strings kind of lined up in the grooves, getting the bridge set pretty much in place. The strings are loose. They're not very tight, but they're snug enough that they're holding the bridge in place. The bridge is not glued to the cello. It's just standing there on tension. I'll check for center. Us luthiers use millimeters, so it's about almost 30 on this side and a little over 30 on that side. Before I tighten the strings up, I'll get it closer to home. We got 30, 31. So it should just be a little, about 30 and a half, 30 and a half. Now we're centered, and we want to make sure that it's pretty well centered between the notches. It looks straight. Now the other thing you want to make sure of, if you can get down here and look at the contact of the feet to the belly, you got to make sure that it's flat. A lot of times after you tune, it starts pulling like this because the strings are dragging across the top of the bridge and the friction's pulling the bridge. You have to straighten it, and I'll show you once the strings are tight. It's a little harder to straighten it. I'll show you how to straighten it. The other thing we need to do is come around here and make sure that this tailpiece adjuster, which this is a cable, this is a nice carbon fiber Kevlar cable that I use. You might have a nylon type, but it needs to be around the end pin here. This is a nice carbon fiber end pin. Yours may not look like that. And it should be centered. Make sure it's not, this is a saddle, and make sure it's not falling off the side. Make sure it's centered. Now we're about ready to go ahead and tighten the strings. We're going to come up top here. This is important when you tighten the strings, that the strings come off of the nut here where the grooves are for the strings, that they go to the pegs in a straight line, and you don't want the string overlapping, especially in the last couple turns, because it could fatigue the string and wear it out prematurely. So I see some overlapping here. I'm going to straighten out. So they start away from the groove and work their way towards the edge wall of the peg box on the C string. Same with the A. These are geared pegs, so I'm not struggling. I don't have to push them in order to keep them from slipping. If you get a typical friction peg, which is probably what you're going to have, it's just a tapered wood ebony peg that is held in there by friction. You actually have to push while you turn, and it turns much quicker. These turn 4 to 1, whereas when you have a friction peg, it's 1 to 1, and it's really scary. You can break strings real easy if you're not used to turning friction pegs. So be careful if you're using a friction peg. Go very, very slow. You might hear weird noises like that. Don't panic. Yeah, we don't need to tune it. We're just going to get it tight. I just want to demonstrate that the bridge might tilt. Now we're going to come back here and check and see if the bridge is not tilting. If it was tilting, the best way to do it at this point, I'm going to take it, put it on the floor. I'm going to put my thumbs right under the middle 2 strings and just slightly push down to straighten it back up. That gives you the most leverage and the most control. Now you tune it up and you're ready to go. Thank you very much.